It was check that, man. Every time Osamason blatantly stole from another artist. I swear to God, bro, this has gone too far. So Osamason is an artist from Goose Creek, South Carolina. Like, I could have sworn this dude was from like Atlanta, Georgia. He straight up looks like somebody from Atlanta, Georgia. And if you think about it, he's kind of at like a disadvantage if you really think about it, because if he was from like Atlanta, Georgia, they have like a super like, the city's full of rappers basically. They all help each other out. So he could have been really like blessed early on. Instead, he is from like the middle of nowhere, Goose Creek, South Carolina. Nah, I'm just playing. But like, I guess that made it a bit harder. So like, he kind of came out of nowhere by himself. Basically, he didn't have like this big support team from his city, like artists like Ken Carson, Destroy Lonely. You know, they literally had people helping them along their whole career. So before we start this video and get into the real examples of how Osamason blatantly stole and copied from other artists, I'm gonna just say there's a difference between copying and inspiration. I'll kind of like go through them after each example. If he was copying, if he wasn't copying, if this was just inspiration, whatever. Like, obviously blatantly copying, that's when like people see right through it. Like, people are gonna be like, yo, this dude's a straight up copycat, like what the hell is wrong with him? But inspiration is kind of different. Sometimes it's like paying homage. Sometimes artists do it without even noticing that they're, you know, being inspired by another bigger artist. But like I said, there's nothing wrong with being inspired, but people tend to get not so happy when people straight up copy. Another thing before we start this video, I do not hate Osamason, aka Osamason. I genuinely rock with him. I think his music is super dope. He's been one of the more exciting rappers that's came out in like recent time, out of the underground at least. Like, Osamason is dope. I can't even hate on him. But I'm kind of just making this video to show, you know, this dude's not perfect. Obviously, he's copied and been inspired by others. And yeah, let's get onto the list. So in 2022, he dropped a song called Me Versus the World. Yep, this is obviously a Summers ripoff. The title is obviously inspired by Summers. I think this is straight up copying. There's not too much lore on this one, I guess, but it's like obvious because this was like Summers' whole stick, like back in the day, like Me Versus the World, Us Against the World. What was it? Bros versus the World, or Bros Fall Out, stuff like that. That was all like Summers' song title, and I think that's straight up copying. Straight up. No hate though. That's straight up copying. Not trying to defend Osamason, but you can't really hate on this too much because Summers was like a huge inspiration for a lot of the underground, especially in like 2021, 2022. So you can't really blame Osamason. You know, he's trying to glow up. You know, he's kind of seeing what works for others and using it for himself. Like, no glazing. I feel like this one wasn't too bad. Next example, 2022, he dropped a song called Girl of My Dreams, where he copied a Can and Summers cover art style. This one as well isn't too bad since it's just like a cover art style that a lot of people were doing back then. Kind of like that black and white sketch look. Another thing I forgot to mention, a lot of these examples are like stolen cover arts. So cover arts that Osamason stole from other people or copied or quote unquote gained inspiration. So that's kind of been like a huge issue for Osamason his whole like career. He's just been kind of like ripping people's cover arts off. Like, if you think about it though, cover arts are really important to an artist because that's kind of like their whole aesthetic. That's kind of like, I don't know, it helps with like the whole look and like, I don't know, makes him seem cool and shit. So Osamason, that's what he's been getting in a lot of trouble for by like the underground community or like the rap community, even the rock community, which we will explain in a further example. So for his song titled On Me, the cover art is clearly inspired by Isaiah TG. I'll throw it up on the screen. I cannot think of what the Isaiah TG, I think it was an album. I cannot remember what it's called at the moment, but I'm gonna throw it up on the screen right now. You guys are probably looking at it. I think this is an obvious rip-off as well. He straight up copied Isaiah TG. Can't even defend this one. And for like newer artists, bro, like there's nothing wrong with being a fan of like underground artists. Like, there's nothing wrong with just being a fan of rappers in general. Like, obviously, we're all fans of rap. Any rapper, like, the biggest rapper in the world, Drake, was a fan of, like, certain artists at one point. He still is a fan of, like, certain artists. There's nothing wrong with being a fan. And for some reason, rappers just kind of, like, I don't know, they have this ego. They think they're, like, on top of the world. whatever, you guys get the point. Next example, Osamason. He straight up copied image Playboy Cardi laying in bed image. Honestly, if I'm being real, I'm not the biggest Cardi fan. So when I seen the Osamason cover art of like him in bed, copied and pasted everywhere, I was like, oh, that's a cool cover art. I did not know Cardi did something similar to that back in the day, because like I said, I'm not a huge Cardi fan. But I feel like this one was inspiration. This is kind of like an homage to Playboy Cardi. And just because it's an homage to Playboy Cardi doesn't mean he won't copy him later on. We're going to talk about that later. Now on this same exact album, Osamason, he has a song titled Cutta, which is a blatant Ken Carson ripoff. Like, you could show this to somebody and tell them, yo, listen to this Ken Carson song, and they will believe you. This was like the most obvious Ken Carson ripoff song that Osamason ever made. And I'm sorry if I keep calling him Osamason. I don't want to call him like his actual pronunciation of his name, because I feel like YouTube might not be down with that. That's why I haven't really pronounced the Osame part really correctly. But yeah, basically he straight up ripped off Ken Carson, ad-libs the song, the rage beat, like everything. Like this one is straight up copying. Like, that was bad. And also, of course, it's gonna sound like I'm defending Osamason, but you can't really blame him, because rage beats are super in right now, super popular. That type of like hardcore beat style, super like hard hitting trap beats, they're super in style. Everybody's rapping over rage beat, underground mainstream rappers, everybody's on the rage beats. I feel like they're kind of slowing down a little bit, kind of dying down. And obviously Playboy Cardi and Ken Carson, that's like their whole like style of music right now. Like, they pretty much own the rage beats. Like, they're like the unofficial owners of rage beats. And I feel like we give them too much credit sometimes, because obviously they did not produce the rage beats. I know Ken Carson technically has producer credits on like Whole Lotta Red for like some rage beat that he like helped produce, but we can't give Ken Carson full credit for rage beats. Like, I don't know, I feel like people are kind of pushing that narrative a bit too far, that like they started the whole rage wave. They for sure were some of the first people, but I feel like the producers deserve more credit than them. Next example, we got Osamason dropped this new project, album, whatever, titled Flex Music, where he straight up copied Ken Carson's rollout. So Ken Carson, for one of his albums, The Great Chaos, he had this super like gritty, like out of pocket rollout where basically it was like live leak, but it was like pictures. So like in the thumbnails of the live leak videos, it was just pictures of him. So it was like this super cool, it said like A Great Chaos in the live leak font, whatever. So it was basically a makeover of the live leak website, but it was like A Great Chaos by Ken Carson, whatever. So Osamason, he liked the whole website Y2K aesthetic, whatever. And instead of using live leak, he used a corn website. I'm not gonna say the word, but I'm gonna throw it up on the screen. If you guys, some of you guys might obviously know what this is like referring to, but I feel like, yeah, he straight up copied Ken Carson with this one. There's no hiding it. But look, he copied Ken Carson, but I think that's a hard rollout. I can't even hate on it. That's pretty hard. Like, it's still cool. Like, even though he's straight up copying Ken Carson, it's still somewhat cool. Like, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I don't hate Osamason, but the dude makes hard music. And at the end of the day, that's all that really matters, is hard music. But let's get into the next example, though. So the next example, for the same album, Flex Music, the cover art, he copied a image of Future. This one is inspiration, not copying. Like, Future is a superstar. He is an icon. Lots of artists, young and old, look up to Future. I feel like this one, he's just paying homage. Like, he's obviously like copy pasted the Future image, but it's him instead, with a super hard hoodie, which he actually released for the fans, but it was not good quality at all. Whatever, that's a different story for a different time. But yeah, I think this one is inspiration. There's nothing wrong with that, honestly. I'm gonna let this one slide, Mr. Osamason. I'm gonna let it slide. So for this next example, Flextra, aka the Deluxe of Flex Music. He copied Iron Maiden cover art, super iconic, legendary cover art that he straight up copied. And this one, it's a straight up copycat, but I don't blame him. I guess everybody's kind of like hating on the artist that made it, so we'll just throw the blame on the artist for blatantly ripping off a super iconic cover art. Like, I feel like this one, there was no real originality. All you did was like change the hue on like Photoshop or whatever. This one was pretty bad, so bad that Iron Maiden supposedly reached out to him and told him to take it down or else. And then Osamason came out saying like, yo, they're gonna sue me. And then I don't know, they weren't gonna actually sue him, so he came out and said, I never said they were gonna sue me, but like, bro straight up said they were gonna sue him. Whatever. This one was a straight up copycat, but we'll let it slide again, Osamason. You're good, buddy. Now these last two examples are like kind of random, I guess. He copied Playboi Carti's blonde hairstyle. This one, I don't know. I feel like it's just a hairstyle. It's like anybody could get this hairstyle. I feel like obviously Playboi Carti doesn't own the rights to this hairstyle, obviously. And maybe, you know, he probably saw Playboi Carti like no homo and was like, man, that is some cool hair. We have the same hair type, so I might as well get the blonde hair. This is like some braided blonde hair type thing. And there's like an image of Osamason, I hope I can find it, where he's like sitting on the driver's seat of a car and he straight up looks like Cash Carti from back in the day. It was actually insane. But I'm gonna let this one slide again. You know, I'm not trying to glaze my boy, but I feel like this one wasn't too bad either. Now this last one, he copied another Ken Carson cover art. I'll throw it up on the screen right now. Basically the iced out grill thing with like the all black background. This one, again, he is straight up copying. And honestly, this one is so damn obvious that I feel like he might have done it on purpose. But he copies and gets inspired so much by others that it might have been a total accident as well. I don't know, man. You guys let me know in the comment section below, man. Discuss this in the comments, man. Let me know if I'm tripping or whatever. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up this video. Let me know if I missed any times he was inspired or copied others. I don't know if I got them all. But to, you know, summarize, basically, Osamason, super hard underground artist. Everybody, a lot of people love him. We all love his music. I like his music. But obviously, he is not perfect. He's not a perfect rapper. He is not a perfect human being. You know, he is easily inspired by others. I wouldn't say easily inspired, actually. I would say he wears his role models, he wears his inspirations on his sleeve real proudly. Some of it might be intentional, some of it might be unintentional, but yeah, at the end of the day, it's not good to be a copycat, or it's not good to be an obvious copycat. But if you're putting in the work and making actual good music, because at the end of the day, all that really matters is if he's dropping solid music. Hopefully some years from now, we look at Osamason and his career and we're like, that dude was hard, he dropped classics. Instead of saying, this dude was a Ken Carson clone, who cares about him? But yeah, that pretty much wraps up this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Instagram at dill.cheese for memes. And yeah, I'm out. Peace.